Well, it's great to finally meet you in person, and I brought a hard copy of my resume if you need that. Oh, thank you, Mr. Faraday, but today we're just going to be talking about you, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, which leads me to my first question, number 3. Tell me about yourself. Well, first and foremost, I'm a brother and a son, a cousin, and whatnot, but I would say most importantly to me, a brother. My siblings are very important to me, along with my mom and dad, and being a brother is just my favorite thing, and it's very important to me, my family, those values. Past that, I'm an active learner. I'm very curious about many different things, and I love to learn new things every day. I would also say I am a leader. Being in positions of leadership can invigorate me, and I'm okay with being wrong. I'm okay with hearing out other people's perspectives, and that's kind of what I think being a leader is all about. Not about bossing other people, being around, or being infallible, but I think just kind of making sure the group's performing at its maximum potential and making sure everyone's heard. I think that's part of being a leader. I'd also say past that, I always like to have a challenge or kind of a direction I'm heading in, a goal I'm working towards, because without that, I can kind of feel lost. And that's not a feeling I like feeling, but yeah, I would say I need to have a direction and a challenge. Alright, number 5, what would the person who likes you least in the world say about you? I would say the person who likes me least in the world would possibly call me arrogant or cocky, although I don't agree with those notions. I know that I have given off that impression in the past, and that's something I'm working to not do anymore, but I just think I'm very confident in my abilities, and I refuse to go into a situation thinking I'm going to lose or fail, no matter if the odds are stacked against me or whatnot. I don't like to go into anything thinking that I'm going to fail. I like to envision myself succeeding before I do something, and then try and go out there and execute it. And people can mistake just the confidence in my abilities or my refusal to have a losing attitude as cockiness or arrogance, but as I said earlier, I have no problem being wrong, and I enjoy and love learning. But yeah, those are misconceptions I've given off before. Number 7, what is the biggest risk you have taken? The biggest risk I would say I have taken is when I stopped going to school and took time off to work and mature. I just kind of knew I wasn't mature enough to do school with as much vigor as I knew I was capable of, and I knew would be best for me. So I took 2 years off to work, and I went to various different therapies and groups like that, just to kind of mature and work on myself. I had some things I needed to get out of the way and come back to school, and I'm really enjoying being a student this time instead of dreading it. And I think although it was a huge risk, at least for me, just being so ambitious and hard on myself with stuff like that, I knew it was best for me, and I knew I would at first struggle with being hard on myself, so that's part of the risk I was taking, but it was a good decision for me. Number 9, describe a time when your team or coworkers did not agree. So I worked for a landscaping company called Perinos, and our number 3 guy, after the owner and then the other guy who kind of went out and did cost estimates, our number 3 guy was like the best in the field worker, the best at building the stuff, because we would build patios and whatnot. We weren't just trimming people's lawns. And this leader was an excellent worker, and everyone knew that, but he also had kind of trouble in the way he would approach people when he felt like they weren't doing their best. He could come off as really angry, and he would yell often and stuff like that, and he was just thought our team was being lazy, the crew members, and the other crew members on my team thought he was just not going about this in a good way at all. They thought what he was doing was not conducive to a good working environment and that sort of stuff. And I agreed with both sides on lots of things, but I think I had a different perspective on where our leader was coming from, the crew leader. He really just wanted to see everyone do their best and have them reach their potential. He really thought everyone could do better than they were doing, and he wanted it to be a habit of just, if you're going to do something, doing it to the best of your ability. Because I mean, it's landscaping, it can get hot, you're working outside, it's probably not a lot of people's dream jobs, but he really just had the value that if you're going to do something, you should do it right. And there's kind of, that was causing a rift. And also the way our leader approached people was causing a rift. So I kind of talked to both sides, like crew members, and I was like, yeah, I know how he talks to people is not the best sometimes, but he really is coming from a good place. He really just wants to see all of you do well and succeed and instill good habits in you. And then I talked to her leader and said that everyone looked up to how great of a worker he was, his work ethic, and just how his technique with everything was almost flawless. So I was kind of like, everyone looks up to you and knows how knowledgeable you are. It's just your approach. So if you could just fix your approach, people would listen to you because everyone's very eager to learn from you. And after this conversation, the things ran much more smoothly. And then number 10, what kind of people do you like the least? I would say the two types of people I like the least are selfish people and closed-minded people. The selfish people, I think that may come from my family values, just that if you have enough and you see someone struggling, you should help them out. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. So it really just rubs me the wrong way when I see someone who can help and has enough to help and they just don't, and that rubs me the wrong way. I'm not saying you have to give away all your extra money and only live off this and be, but if you're just people who have selfish tendencies, I really can't get along too well with them. And also just closed-minded people, that's just not a way to go about life. It can really frustrate me when I see a closed-minded person, because I mean, with how many closed-minded people there are out there, there are plenty of people who are, talented and intelligent and all this, but they're just so closed-minded, and it rubs me the wrong way. It frustrates me. I don't think it's a way to go about life. You should have an open mind and be eager to learn new things. Okay, Mr. Fred, we're going to move on into the second set of questions, and number 2, we have rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 how weird you are. Okay, I would say I would give myself a 9. I would just say kind of my whole life I've I've just kind of gone about things in non-conventional ways. I like to think outside the box or try something that someone hasn't done before. This has led me to a fair amount of failures, but I just like to tinker with methods until I kind of can figure a way that works better, figure out, no, this really is the best method. Past that, I just kind of have like some weird tendencies, like I drink hot water instead of room temperature water. I don't sleep with a pillow. I mean, these aren't insane things, but they just kind of add up a lot to the point where my roommates kind of endearingly call me a lizard just because I'm so different than people in a lot of different ways, and I get cold easy, so it's like a double-edged joke. I would say the only reason I wouldn't give myself a 10 is just kind of the consensus in my family is that my younger brother is the only one who's a bit more odd than me, and so I would just say I couldn't give myself a 10 if I'm not even the oddest person in my own family. But he's not odd in a bad way at all. We all love it, and I think oddity is just kind of a means for improvement, a means for progress, and I enjoy being considered by most to be on the weirder side of things. Alright, and number 9, If I was a genie and could give you your dream job, what and where would it be? And this is actually an easy question for me. I would like to be the owner of the Phoenix Suns. That's for a couple reasons. I mean, the most obvious, I'm from Phoenix, so that's my team. I love them. And then I would like to be the owner in that position of leadership, because I feel like that role would invigorate me. Just having people, rely on me and look up to me invigorates me and helps me kind of become a better version of myself, and that motivation I get from being a leader. So I would definitely be a leader in my dream job. And also I would just be able to learn so much in that role, because I would be surrounded by so many knowledgeable people who know so much more about this subject or that in terms of basketball or ownership and all of that. And I would just think it would be really just a job that would invigorate me. I enjoy basketball, and I'd get to learn tons of new things. Okay, Mr. Faraday, that concludes our questions for you. Do you have any before we finish this interview? Yes, I was wondering what a typical day of employment would look like for you here.